So good morning, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Monika Slomska, and well, I'm everything what is written here, so I will not explain it in details, but in general, I'm a board member for ABSL, and usually I am the person who is heading this kind of breakfast. I'm very pleased that we start this again, since, I mean, the summer was not really the most active period for anyone. Let's call it this way. It was a hibernate mode for any organization and probably majority of the people. So I'm really glad that we start again, and we start with a very sensitive topic and very interesting topic in my opinion. But before we move there, I will let my guests today introduce themselves.
Okay, may I
yes.
continue? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. My name is Viktor Görtl. I am the CEO of a Hungarian HR agency called WHC. Nice to be here. And
thank you. I'm Balázs Gyurnagy, Managing Director of Trenkwalder, and also, like Monika, board member at ABSL.
Yeah, István Lánk, Managing Director of KATA Enterprises Hungary, and currently I'm the president of ABSL Hungary. So just took over the role from Monika.
So thank you. So as you can, actually, I just realized around the room, it's a very cozy environment, and we actually, it's not visible for the colleagues online, but it's really a cozy environment today and a cozy group, I would say. But as you may recognize, it is a very interesting setup of panelists today. So we have two large agencies, recruitment agencies. So we'll be very curious of their opinion and their view of what they see on the market. And I specifically invited agencies who are not the typical ones and necessarily number ones in the shared service center environment, because the whole topic related to KATA law is much more present in their life and much more, how to say, visible from countryside perspective as well. So it will be a different view today of what, what potentials can be there for us as a shared service center industry from a different angle. And István represents not only ABSL here today, but he represents the potential customer of this group of talent, if they are a group of talent, and that is what we are going to discuss today. Interestingly so, I haven't found the volunteer HR director to discuss about the topic, and it's very interesting, why not? And I think it is, at the end of these discussions, we can elaborate whether the answers I received from HR people, that the first one was basically the KATA talent pool is not applicable to us. So is it or is it not? That will be a very interesting discussion today. So let's go for the KATA. So since we have a various population, various colleagues coming from abroad as well, so what is really KATA about? Any of you may.
Yeah, KATA is a nice person.
KATA is a nice person, yeah.
It was a joke. May I begin? Or
yes, please.
Yeah. So as I prepared for this meeting for today, I just made some thoughts. KATA is a taxation at the end. So it's, in my perspective, is not about the labor market. It's rather about how many Hungarian forints should I pay when I get my monthly income. So, but I understand the point of view that because of the changes in this legislation, maybe, and we are talking about in Hungary around 300,000 or between 300 and 400,000 employees who has got this legal entity or this taxation of KATA, which was changed in the summer. And I understand the point of view that maybe this change will motivate these people to change their jobs. And maybe these people could join the SSC and BSc industry. But here today, let us argue with this topic, because at the end, I'm working in the HR agency, industry since 20 years. So I have got a whole another point of view because of the change of tax legislation. But
I let Balázs comment. So KATA, the way of treating entrepreneurs, individual entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think the term what I hear recently quite often is KATA talent pool. I think it's a mismatch. Why don't we have simplified employment talent pool?
Or normal personal income tax,
Or normal income
talent
tax
pool.
talent pool, yes, or I don't know, brown hair people talent pool. It's a kind of market circumstance how the taxation is. It can be favorable, it can be non-favorable. You can benefit from certain aspect of that, or you can not benefit. So that's why I'm not surprised that no HR managers are really in it, because it's not a talent pool yet, or it won't be a talent pool at all. And I think it's not a quite usual thing that Victor and we are in a panel together. You have to know that in the Hungarian market, there are 3 big agencies that covers roughly 20% of the total HR service market. We are 2 of them. It's very tight competition. And the reason why I think it's good that you could manage this funnel is that we have a kind of understanding for the total employment market. And I think this KATA change maybe could bring a new aspect to the BSc market, because the BSCs are really a closed group. They normally don't look like the whole employment market. They were always a benefit. They always benefited from their special point of safety and these outsourcing aspects, and they really were in a position where they don't really had to look other employment segment. They never had to compare themselves to automotives and many others. But when these changes or a crisis, when it's coming and it's not a very stable market environment, they have to. So I think the KATA is a good argument to a little bit open up the eyes and look at other segments, other aspects of the employment market, because it's gonna be tough. The golden age is, I think, it's over from employment point of view for a long period of time. What we experience today is not even employment market competition yet in the BSc sector. It will come just now.
So István, a question to you. So today, I mean, you're an SSC leader. So do you have today typically, KATA entrepreneurs somehow engage in your organization?
So KATA entrepreneurs we have, but it's limited. It's very limited to specific suppliers who are not essentially add to the generic service activities, but how to maintain the facility. I would call it indirect suppliers, making sure that the facility is running and making sure that all things what specific areas within the facility they need, IT, HR itself, or other areas, safety. This is what they need, and this kind of people can provide. So for example, if there is a first aid training, just an example, this is something what a person in this form can provide. But this is a limited one. Once a year or twice a year it happens, and they come. Or there are certain other things, but these are purely about the facility, as I said, and the service deliveries. They do not even know anything about them. So supply chain, HR services, customer care, finance, whatever, they don't apply them. For a simple reason, exactly what Balázs said, is just because we employ them. Internal employees, whoever want to work with BSCs, we employ them, or they may become a contractor, but through them. So that's mainly the two ways, and we don't have direct relations.
So because we talk about talent pool here, and I think it is important to distinguish that István, you represent a BSC, which is obviously a large corporate, international corporate. But we have many, many Hungarian language-based service centers in Hungary, right? So when we refer to talent pool, there are various degrees of talent required, right? So there are service centers with typically international with their own requirements. There are service centers which are not international, purely Hungarian with their own requirements. So the question from my side is, what do you feel in the Hungarian segment? So basically, if we put a little bit aside the international, typical international corporate, probably you have multiple clients where you serve purely Hungarian needs. What is happening there today in terms of KATA? Do they follow the same approach, or do they follow any other ideas?
I think that they have to follow the same approach because, as I've mentioned before, that KATA is, for me, it's a taxation, that's all. And which means it's about the money. How much do I get in net? And KATA was issued in 2013, as I remember, and a lot of employment kind of relationship became KATA relationship only to give or to support the employee with more net income. I just say an example. If I am an employee at our company as a CEO, if the Hungarian government would change the legislation from today, that the personal income tax is not 15%, it's rather 40%, what should I do? Should I change my job? Should I go to another industry to work because the taxation was changed? I don't think so. So it's rather about if it would happen. I don't wish that it happens, of course, but if it would happen, that next day I should decide to sit down with my employer and, let's say, talk about my salary because I need the same net, and then it will be cost more for my employer to employ me. Mm-hmm. So my point of view is rather about the money, not about the industry, not about the job itself, because a lot of people who work in KATA, I think that they love their work, so that's why they choose to work as an SSC, customer care representative, or to deliver the food for us at our offices, like Food Panda or what employees or entrepreneurs are doing. So for me, it's rather about the money, not about the job itself.
So you mentioned about the money. So the clip level for KATA is 12 million forints till now, right? So that means that 12 million forint is the yearly income which these people can earn. Now, depending obviously on the qualification,
they can earn more, but they
can earn more, but yes. But so I would say that probably for an IT segment, that's even a low amount, right? Because these people are really very expensive, right, on the market. But for others, it may be just in the clip level part. So, Jimmy, can you please? Thank you. So when we consider the talent pool, we always talk about being more open, and this is for the service center industry. We always talk about being more open and try to look outside of the box and what kind of people or what kind of talent we can employ. So István, so do you think that our mentality could change just by encouraging, showing different potentials, that if people are having lower degree but speak language, or higher degree but speak only English, could we accommodate this talent if we are in a position to offer something better?
So that's exactly the question which we are facing today, because on one hand there is the company side. The company side in the past said, big corporates, as long as we can have people speaking English plus something else, could be the focus group. Mm-hmm. In Hungary, as we all know, these people are available, most of them have university degrees. So that company, the university degree level is 98%. The rest, so the remaining two are just part of interns, so they will also have that. So 100%, which is pretty similar everywhere. Do we really need that? I wouldn't. What we need is, because on the company side, this is the very minimum and the must. And then we will teach them how to do the job and what kind of job they can do. There are specific ones, but the vast majority can be easily learned after a good training plan. Do we need university degrees to that? No. And do we have people speaking English or any other languages having a high school degree or at a lower educational level, or someone who is coming from a completely different segment and just having the language knowledge and we jump into this sector? That's the question, and that's the second part of the question, because the difficulty here is how we can find them. Can they find us? So this is the link what we are just checking and would like to build up, and it leads to the sector awareness, but that's
So it's very interesting what you are saying, because I mean, from what I remember, when I started in the sector, and that was not in this century, so when I started in that sector, the transitions happened exactly the same way as they happen today. And the type of talent at the local organizations, the written organization, was exactly similar as it is today. And that talent, typically for certain type of jobs, was the hairdresser, and so on, people who are qualified after a while, learn the task, what they do. They do not possess a high university degree, but they learn and they are very good at the job, what they do at the local organization. We go there with our young talent and try to observe the work with no experience, but language skills. So the question from my side is, and that is, and you pointed very well, right? That how we can reach them, do we really need for every single functional, university degree? Probably the answer is no, we don't need, but we don't say this so much out loud because of the language and many other parameters. But we also don't say this loud because we would need to establish our processes the way that we can comfort actually the talent pool which we could require. But Balázs, I look at you. So if we consider this, let's be picky here, and we say we don't need a university degree, but we need English only, or a second language, let's call it a waitress working today in Austria. Can we acquire her to work to service center?
Ask it, and you know my answer. So my personal opinion, and I'm always telling this, we in the Hungarian business service center market, we are creating kind of fake environment. What is a shared service or a business service center about? It's very mature processes, very measurable, very set up organization that is picked from somewhere and established thousands of kilometers away using technology and creating an offshore, nearshore organization. It's very mature. It's not a startup, definitely not a startup. And most of the shared service centers are pretending, even if they acknowledge it or not, pretending to be a kind of startups, being a sparkling young environment with table suckers and whatever category A buildings in downtown and everything. And if you see the origin of this whole sector in the US or in France or UK, they are established in somewhere not in downtown because it's not a client-facing environment most of the cases. Very important processes, but they look for a different type of pool, not young professionals in the beginning of their career, but more for those in their 40s, 50s, who are really, who knows what they want and accept the fact that this is not the most challenging, but not the most stressful jobs neither. And here in Hungary, we have this, and that's why many of the young talents are disappointed after a couple of years. But of course, because they have a university degree, they speak 2 or 3 languages, and they don't want to be transaction price specialists with an English and mathematics degree. And as a parent of 3 kids, I don't want a teacher to be a transfer price specialist in any of the nice centers instead of teaching my son. Yeah, so that's another thing. So my answer in short, yes. I think that the big benefit of the centers that they can really teach the core processes, the core knowledge, because they are prepared for that. The whole environment is supporting. So it could be a very challenging and good working environment for those who could not make the university degree, and still they can work in a very decent work environment. They still can do a very good career, or they still can change their career from, for example, the government sector. Of course, it's not that easy, like hunting down the youngsters competing with high school salaries. Yeah, it's a bit more challenging. It's a bit more time to change it. But as the employment market is today, we have to consider this option. And being a second-tier supplier or go to second-tier employment market, it's not a shame. It's a normal thing. Not everybody is Elon Musk. Not everybody is graduated from Harvard or anything. It's not a problem at all. They can still have nice family, nice life, nice everything, without all the stress that's coming from being the first year. Yeah. So that's why I think, back to your question, this is a time that we have to really strategically consider these type of second-tier markets in terms of employment, in terms of cities, in terms of everything, and put this. I don't even say golden age, because I'm saying it black and white. I know it's not that black and white, but it's a kind of fake. What we experienced in the last 10, 15 years.
So for sure, there is a difference between Budapest and the countryside, but we will come back to that in a minute. But Victor, a question to you. So how can I convince someone who is today an entrepreneur, free person, doing whatever he or she wants, contracting companies with a secondary school degree, let's say English language, or speaking some other, by any chance, intermediate German, typically is somehow combined. How can I convince that person to come to work for me, and where I should search?
Very good question. Yeah, first of all, you have to find the motivation of this person. If this person likes to do what he is doing on his daily basis, then it's very hard to attract him or her in another industry, because his heart or her heart is in that daily activity. If somebody is forced to be an entrepreneur, let's say, because of the legislation or whatever, or because of the cost structure of a company, then you can find this unique selling point for this person, I would say. Maybe that would be the stable, as Balázs mentioned, that the SSC, BSC sector is rather, compared to let's say, to electronic assembly or automotive industries, rather a stable industry. So you can count on your employer on long term. You will have a job. And if this person is motivated to change because of this environment, then you will succeed with them. Where to find them? It's a labor market, so you have to find a waiter, you have to find I don't know, metal industry worker, and you have to find your workers to the SSC. It's the same labor market. You have to build up very good brands, not not fake brands, as Balázs mentioned, I would say, to be honest with the people. But I don't want to offend anybody, so don't misunderstand me, of course. But we have to tell the truth for the employees on the labor market, for the candidates, because now unemployment rate in Hungary is around 3% or lower than 3%. I don't know the exact number. In this case, the employees, the candidates, they have a will and they will execute their will. If you don't match with them, then you have to forget about them. You cannot attract them.
I hear many things here which I think are really at key importance, because I think majority of the colleagues would agree that today's BSc experience is, when it comes to branding, that we go to the university, stand in front of the door and brand ourselves. That's the number one. And probably 90% everyone does that and does nothing else. So, or very little. So the whole thinking process in HR directors' head that they will do something else in terms of employer branding and going out to the population above a certain age or outside the university is just not part of the DNA actively. It's not. I would not say that it's true for everyone, but it's definitely not a part of the existing DNA actively. So what I'm hearing from you is that for someone who I want to find, first of all, I have to find a way how to find him. So I have to go there and present something understandable to him or her of what our sector is at all about. That's one thing, which is not there today at all. So we are not, and it is not only for KATA, it is for anybody, right? So for anybody. So we are not reaching out to any talent pool, or limited, I would say, unless they find us, we really don't find them, right? That's probably, István, you may comment on that. Feel free.
Yes, this was what I was referring to. And a few weeks ago, we were actually here with some of the bigger, mid or bigger size SSC leaders, and we were talking about sector branding, because what Monica and also Victor mentioned, people are doing this on their own, and employer branding does not mean in front of the door at the university, but also something knowledge about what these business services do, who the participants are, and have a better understanding than having a call center in Hungary, and there is 200 already. So in order to educate everybody how to make this is what we were talking about, and what we afterwards try to share through the media, and this is what our plan to continue. For a simple reason, if we make it on a collective way together, is much better, because they look at that can be under ABSL Hungary, because it is something which is representing the sector and collecting all the knowledge, and can direct people to the right companies who they want to know more about. And this is what we started a few weeks ago, and the experience is even when I had a chance to be in a radio interview, the person who did the interview with me, I started with the explanation what the shared service, business services means. And what he said at the first minute, oh, now I understand. Then I asked different questions. So this was the person who prepared himself before the interview. So imagine what may happen with those people around the country who may see something about this and talk about the children. Okay, this is the call center, forget about it. So this is something what we would like to change, is better awareness and more knowledge sharing. And then at some point we can lead people to the specific companies. This is missing today.
this is missing today. So this is missing in general, and not to speak about the talent pool, which we want to reach out here. So let's probably, I mean, branding could be a long topic to discuss, whether it's in general for what kind of talent pool. But the point here is that, coming back to you, how can I reach the person? What I need to do in order to be able to convince the person working in a certain industry that this is the right way to go.
Yeah, for a OEM, let's say, I don't want to name any kind of logos, but for companies who are producing a car, it's very easy. Let's imagine you go out in the streets and you see a lot of cars. Everybody knows that in Szentgotthard, in Győr, in Esztergom, in Kecskemét, in the future at Debrecen, which type of cars will be produced. It's very easy for them through their product to make the employer branding, because if you have got a fancy BMW or fancy Suzuki Swift, then it can attract people. The SSC and BSC is another industry. That's the point what we should create, that the people on the streets who are living their daily life, they should know about the sector, and we have to train them and we have to teach them what is this job is all about. That's a big point, and it's also a big challenge for us in the HR agency industry. What are we doing in our daily activity? Okay, we are making recruitment and a lot of kind of paperwork. We have the same challenges, only in our case now in Hungary, we don't have got this bottleneck, what you've mentioned before, that the English is a must. For me, in our company, I don't care about university degrees. I don't care about high school degrees. I don't care about, I need a people who is ready to work with me in a long term, who is enthusiastic. And of course, there are there can be some, I don't find the word in English, situations when there is a must competencies, of course, like English knowledge or German knowledge or Scandinavian language knowledge. But if this sector has got these bottlenecks, then let us forget about, or not 100%, let us open the labor market, because if you need English knowledge in your FST, then hire Indians or hire somebody from Philippines. You don't even have to bring them here to work. I think that through the COVID times, you also had to stay at home, and somehow the whole sector solved to work from abroad. So if there is a lack of, and I understand why the HR managers of SSC are going to the universities, of course, because they are thinking, okay, in the universities, I will have young people who knows English, and the money which can I offer is for them at the beginning of their career is enough. That must so the labor market and at the end will decide if this sector would have enough candidates on long term or not. So not the labor market itself.
We come back to that, but you mentioned something very important about the branding, which I really want to talk about, because you've mentioned that it is very easy for a company, if you have cars on the street, whether it's BMW, whether it's Suzuki, you associate with the product.
You see it, you feel it.
So what happens today in the service centers is that we are not very good at promoting the industry sector itself. So, and we are not very good at promoting the company. So I recently had a very interesting question. That's why it is, I can somehow associate to this as from one of the center leaders saying, how can I go out on the market and create a branding about the product which I'm doing, that I'm producing, I mean, the company is producing next generation product, let's call it what exactly, because it's not the place to advertise, but that he wants to promote the center as a value center for supporting the business producing this particular product. And it is all about product. It's not about come work for us, you can earn more, you can be a team leader in 2 years, you can be whatever. It is about how to promote a product which you are trying to satisfy, you're trying to support through this industry, it's a completely different mentality, right? As to come work for us because you can earn X, Y, Z, and you can, have a ping pong table and whatever else, right? So it's a completely different way of approaching branding. So with this mentality, could we be more successful?
Yeah, hopefully, yes, of course. 100% sure, of course.
So you have a job to do at
You
Eton.
can engage the people more.
Well, so what Victor mentioned, the difference between the B2C and the B2B. So our company, I know it very well because our company name is pretty much unknown even today for most of the people. So just for a simple reason, because this is a B2B. The car manufacturers, OEMs, and some others who are in front of the line, and you can take a product and show it in front of the camera much easier, because then I can also show an Eton product, and I can show probably in this building as well. And I'm pretty sure all of you almost every day use Eton, but you don't know. And this is why it's really difficult. But when I explain to people, for example, it's a funny thing, no one knows. In Europe, if someone is using Facebook, for example, it's very probable you are using Eton, because Eton was creating the data center for Facebook in Europe, 100%. So it means that it's Eton. If you are having a car, a different one, a premium one, you are also using Eton, but it's rebranded. It's next to the engine is something which is helping to manage the car. But that's why my job is even more difficult than what the Coca-Cola guys can do, because I'm one step behind, and even today that's the reality.
I have four things attaching to this, what we were talking about. First, the branding is a trap, because yes, Audi, BMW, Daimler, they can attract people, but not bookkeepers. So why Audi is not bringing their shared service center together?
Audi?
Audi.
Oh, he does.
He doesn't. He rebrand himself for the engineers, and he dominates the employment market in Europe and doesn't let anybody enter into it, just them and their supply chain. They just simply dominate. They don't attract bookkeepers. If you are a bookkeeper in Europe, you still belongs to their dominated employment market. So they don't brand the shared service centers as itself. Yeah, it's a kind of trap. And you are not in the highlight of their employment pool if you are a bookkeeper. You are not an engineer. You are not a lean professional. That's what they are moving to. That's where they invest in terms of employment market. So it's a different behavior how they look at it. And most probably Eton, where the money is coming from, that's where they probably Eton is a very well established and known brand where they want to be. Yeah,
exactly. In a B2B industrial segment.
So that's another thing. Next to that, and then I will link these things together. Next to that, the employment market is where to find, and these type of questions. It's a tricky, because it's not like raw materials. We don't have a warehouse with full of people. When somebody needs someone, we just let them to the light. The people are everywhere and nowhere. So the trick here is the share of voice. You have to be really everywhere, by alone you can't make it. Even large automotive companies can't make it, so they do it together. So the share of voice is extreme, and you have to increase the share of voice. And what to share? It's another thing that you have to find high values linked to the centers. What is a high value? Stability. It's very stable, this business service environment for the legal changes in this market. They are very vulnerable what's happening in the US or the major market. So when a big company collapse, of course, the shared service center collapses as well, but it's not that often. So stability, feasibility, it's very not stable, but expectable. I don't know if this English word exists at all, but you can really plan your life when you are in the business service sector in all levels. Even if you are manager or director, you can plan your life. You can have a very good family and work balance. So it's really lots of advantages, and these are the high values. You have to link it somewhere, and how it works. That's why I really like, even if this KATA will not change the life of business service centers, but it's a good topic because the media already picked it up. So you can link to it and share your high values constantly. Repeat the high values with every chance. And then they will know if you want stability, if you have a family, if you want to come back from maternity leave, if you speak language and you don't have a degree, if just only being in a nice office motivates you, then it could be a high value for this market, and use every chance. It shouldn't be strictly. Nobody listen to a radio report about employment opportunities in the Hungarian business service center industry. They will switch it off immediately. But it's a legal change. There are protests against it, so they will listen to it, and then you can push your high values in it. And how it links together, that small but constant messages, shots like the LinkedIn or the YouTube shorts, you will get it always from everywhere. So they learn it. Stability, BSc, expectability, BSc, good office environment, BSc. So this has to be linked together, and then you can root it. And why nobody did it? That's what I told. It's still a paradise employment market for the centers. I never seen any big rollouts failed because of not finding the right talent. So the big problem for a shared service center in Hungary is that maybe I can do it in 6 weeks or 12. But in the electrical manufacturing, they don't start shifts. GE closed lines in Veresegyház because they couldn't answer their clients' requests because of employment problems. It's not existing in the Hungarian. So that's what I tell to investors, guys. It's still a paradise. Yeah, it's not 6 weeks but 8, but you can't fail in Hungary yet. It's a good employment market still, but we have to warn everybody that this era will end soon. So we have to stop faking. We have to start giving high values. We have to prepare ourselves for these brand attributes. We have to create the share of voice, all these things, and attach with what was done by István perfectly. And not a very crucial topic, but attaching to it and starting to give the signals for the benefit of everybody here.
So Balázs, what I'm hearing from you is there is a chance. So there is a chance to go out. There is a talent pool to reach out to. Is a complete switch of mentality.
Because they're still easy, but it won't. And that's why we have to be
prepared.
Yeah. We have to be prepared. Winter is coming. I don't know. And really, it's not.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree with Balázs. It was a good example that you came up with Audi Győr, because I am from Győr, so I was born there. I lived there. Okay, this year we moved to Budapest with my family. I'm 46 years old, so I've lived my whole life in Győr. I was a young kid when Audi came in 1991, and I saw this market now. Of course, because of the car and the engines, 10,000 people or 12,000 people are working there in the city. in Audi, and of course more at their suppliers. But just imagine a car factory and engine factory. There's a lot of men doing their job. What about the women? What about the wives, the girls? They don't like. I personally, I don't like this kind of automotive stuff. I like driving, of course, but what about other people? And there is an SSC came to your LIDEC 5 years ago. For them, city is great. And there are a lot of bigger cities in Hungary, as you know, and they are empty. There is Pécs, there is Miskolc, a lot of production plants around the cities, and there are no SSCs. So I don't know if after COVID, of course, anybody can work from home now, but why not invest in other cities? Why only at Budapest? I don't really catch this idea, but
me neither. You are not alone, and you speak to my heart.
It's not my decision. But
it's you know, Balázs, you were saying that it's a paradise for talent pool, right? And that okay, companies, mainly in Budapest, will say, okay, it's instead of 6 weeks, they will do transition 12 weeks. But this 12 weeks, the talent pool costs minimum 20-30% more than it used to a couple of months ago, because they fight for the talent which is on the street and hunt from each other. So it becomes more and more costly, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but compared to Houston or New York or London, it's nothing.
Okay.
And of course, if you accumulate all of the SSC, BSC sectors in the area of Budapest, then in long term you will find yourself in a situation there will be, or it's already a fight for the candidates, and the salaries are increasing.
Yeah, that's what's happening now.
That's what this sector created for itself. If they would split for a lot of locations, then they won't have this problem, I think.
We talked about countryside. So if we are going to, let's say, change the mentality and try to brand differently and try to reach out to potential talent pool, what's the difference between Budapest and the area versus countryside? So the reach, the proportion.
For a countryside, for let's say an empty city which doesn't have any kind of SSC, BSTs today, it's a new brand on the labor market.
Even for KATA people. So we are talking about KATA people now, right?
Yeah,
mainly
okay.
About entrepreneurs as well, beside the other talent pool. So when I look at the countryside and I want to attract them versus I look Budapest and the surrounding area and I want to attract the hairdresser speaking 2 languages and teach the person to work in a service center and the language teacher equally. So
I don't think that the hairdresser will be a talent pool for
thank you. Okay.
For taxi drivers neither, but it's a good topic because the BSC's talent pools, mothers, sisters, friends are listening to the news talking about KATA. And when somebody is giving the high values of stability, everything like this, and then they listen to it, and they will take this high values and notes, and the reach and the channels of reaching the people, increasing the share of voice, communicating more high values via a change. I am a KATA pool. I can be a KATA employee or anybody. I was for a half year, so I didn't like it, but it's a personal thing. So it's anybody can be, because it's a taxation. The topic is important. How we can use this topic to share our high values, because people are listening to it. It's happening today. People are watching it closely because it's in the news. It's in the people are on the streets, everything. So how can we share our high values? And stability in a crisis, it's a very high value. 3 years ago, nobody cared about stability because they could easily move and have jobs and make their living. But now everything is uncertain, a pandemic, war, inflation, everything, so it's unstable. Stability is an extremely high value today. So sharing this, KATA is just for us is it's not, again, not a PC phrasing, but it's a very good opportunity, a platform to share the higher values. It doesn't matter for a center if the KATA people will come or two others who are not KATA people, but they fed up with getting paid in cash and in the HoReCa sector. Yeah, so we have to use it, and others are using it, but the BSE sector, we were not forced to use it. And as I told, winter is coming, so better try these channels now, because you can't be everywhere if you want to advertise. You can't advertise that much. It's extremely a lot of money. But if we have the sound bites and the high values for any actual topics that's in the news, we can always be in the news with our high values. Somehow we will make a short link how to invite us because of certain topics, but otherwise it's not important itself. The KATA, the platform that what it creates
is important. So István, listening to the other side, what are your thoughts about the whole branding change and mentality change and everything? So you've mentioned that on ABSL, obviously, we will try to do something. But if you think about the leaders in general in the sector, do you think they will be open to switch into this different need? Let's call it this way.
I hope they will. So as both of you just said, they are living the same approach and the same thing on the others. So they were on a honeymoon because they had to deal with things what defined by the companies, and they didn't have to think about other things out of the box. So how to manage the team in a way that there is a higher attrition, how to manage people leaving just because they are not satisfied with the job content anymore, because having 2 diplomas, university degrees, 2-3 languages, that's the general in the sector, and doing supply chain procurement job, which is not a high value job, but at the beginning, at some point, this is not matching on one hand. On the other hand, this could be done by someone who was a language teacher, for example, and I know what I said about the teacher. So teaching the children, and that's the job, and this is the profession they learn. But at the same point, who were, for example, a KATA stage, in a KATA stage, of course, a KATA taxation status in the past, but cannot maintain or not able to maintain that work anymore. This is a good opportunity potentially to be in a good environment and a stable, getting a stable job on the longer run, even a career path on the long run. So that's one thing, but this is minimal. So we are not, let's say, stealing the full KATA employed people, because it's physically not possible. This is just giving an opportunity for those who could be matching to this sector to take them over. But at the same time, as Balázs said, more awareness is needed for the people, and also there should be a change in the mindset of the leaders to have the feeling that, for example, ABSL as a completely new, rebranded, international, let's say, family. This is how they call it, family. To learn best practices and not being with my own tube, but looking out and remove the tube and see and understand who my competitors could be outside of Hungary. In Budapest, we mostly know each other, but do we really know who our competitors in the different neighboring countries are? this is what we would like to push more in ABSL in order to leverage that advantage what ABSL gives us as an international. And this I would expect from the leaders, the company leaders, to join more the conversation, use the platform that exists, and share the views, because this is what's not happening today.
Victor, how can I convince a center leader battling with the talent pool in Hungary, saying it's very expensive in Budapest? I would rather go to another country and start from scratch than going to page Győr. How can I convince him? Help me with that.
If this leader would like to work with you together on long term, then you can convince him 100% sure, because if he cannot reach the goals of the company, then his career is over. So I don't think that there is a leader who don't want to have success in his life, and it's not rocket science. I would say the labor market is quite easy. When you have people in location A with the right competencies, and you are working in location B and you don't have got enough workforce, then it's not a rocket science to see that, okay, I should go to location A.
It is. You would be surprised.
It is a
but
rocket
it
science.
is. It is. And the
Then
question.
I will share my contact
Yeah.
address.
No, really. The question. And we are here
about.
talking without taboos. This discussion is always without taboos. I very often have difficulties of convincing people going out and hire elsewhere than Budapest and surrounding area, because the question comes about salaries, the question comes about reach out, the question comes about the hybrid work and how many times the person can return, and on and on and on. I could go on. The question here is, we are talking about, let's prepare ourselves for the future. We will have difficulties heating. People are there. We have to reach out to them. Talent pool is even wider than we think of, even around Budapest. So how can I convince majority of the SSC leaders that Budapest, there is a life outside of Budapest? There are people outside of Budapest. There is a way to go there and hunt.
To them to the bigger cities in Hungary. So maybe that's all, but it was a joke, of course, from myself. For me, it's very hard to understand this kind of thinking, that somebody after COVID times, somebody is thinking only in a location. It's called Budapest now. For me, it's very hard to understand that kind of mindset. But at the end, I am an HR professional, so as I mentioned, it's a labor market. If you go out to a market and I sell for you Apple, and Balázs sells you also Apple, and my Apple is over, I don't have got for you zero any. Okay. Then why do you come to me buying Apple? Please go there. He has got Apple and you can buy there. So it's that is the labor market is the same.
Okay.
Then I think about people, of course, and I don't want to offend, of course, the people and the workers.
So do you think, is there enough information available, facts in hand of these leaders to understand that what kind of options they have outside of Budapest?
I think they just don't care.
Okay. So
Yeah.
let me rephrase.
It's just a 2-minute Google search if you were really interested.
Maybe they don't care.
They just don't care.
How do we make them care? So if I ask your advisory now, yeah?
They don't care, you have to change them. So.
That's an easy cut.
You have to fire them, send them to another city. And
I just really don't know, because for internal things, we are building up internally at Trenkwalder shared service center for a couple of things, serving other Trenkwalder countries. And I wanted to convince them to bring these desks. It's really a small one, so it's not that big. Serving 18 countries in a BSC, it's not that big. And I wanted to convince them to not bring. We have 20 branches. I could bring it anywhere. They were tortured me to introduce everything, and they decided Váci Street, Budapest.
I can.
It's not even the best thing here. For me, it's not that good. We are just circling around of these people because they are not really part of the organization of the Hungarian team. Yeah, so they are. It's not. But at the end, that's happened, and I just don't know.
So let's not go to this drastic environment because then we would have less people available than heads. But jokes aside, so how do we make them recognize? So I really want how I would like to receive if I'm a leader and assume I do care, I just have no clue, and I'm a foreigner coming here, which still majority are foreigners coming here, trying to do something here. They are here for 2 years. Okay, they read something in Hungary today, they receive some HIPAA data, whatever, but generally they have no clue. Okay, how do they get the information? How can you or anyone, because I'm looking at you, I mean, you are sitting here for a reason, sorry, beside the fact that there is plenty of recruitment agencies, but actually you are the at least two ones who are very active and big outside of Budapest. So you have the whole visibility on the country. How can you sell your service or advise, and with big advice, a center leader István that he should go and hunt outside of Budapest in a way that he will be successful?
My idea is that it's I think we shouldn't convince anybody. It's for me, this process is more similar how I made my children to like fruit. It was always on the table. So it was always attractive. It was always nice. If I just push them to eat apple, eat orange, eat banana or something, they just refused it because I don't like it. I'm not hungry and these type of excuses. But if it's always nice, if it's always always there, why don't we invite these people somehow to Győr or to Debrecen or to wherever, and somehow just to put it on the table and don't convince them about anything. If they come to ABSL that okay, I hate it. I've eaten, and those stupid guys from G took my whole AP desk, and this is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm fed up. I've seen that in the very west or very east side, they are not active. I'm moving. Then it's the same question. Okay, can you slice me that apple like my daughter asked me? Then we are in, and then we can make a nice slice and make it attractive. But unless they don't have the appetite, then I don't think that you can convince anybody. If they don't want to visit Hungary for a site visit, you can't even sell Budapest. I've been in many times in this situation. If the decision maker was not here, I haven't seen a decision for the favor of Hungary. If they don't want to come, but they went to the Philippines or they went to India or they went to Cork and they made a phone call from Cork to introduce Hungary, I already knew they are off. And this is a thing they have to see. So I've changed my mind. If you see previous interviews or something, now my point of view is really changed. So I wanted really to convince these guys because there is a logic behind it, but it just simply didn't work. So we have to put, of course, apple is healthy. Apple is nice. It's tasty, but my daughter didn't like it. Didn't want it. So, but now she asked for it because it was always there. So I think this is the way how we could try to make it. put it always there.
If I may add something here. It's one thing to be there and taste it, for example, in the countryside. But if we bring someone, decision maker, to your or page, I'm not fully convinced that just because the person is there, the decision would be
No, not bring there. If they want to go there, that's the difference. If they want to come,
there is something else. So they want to be there. We bring there. It's nice there, but there is something else. You have to be at the same level with the competition. I mean, not the same league, but the same level of preparedness of the knowledge, the municipality, the talent pool, and everything what's available at the countryside as well. Comparing to Budapest, for only one reason, the investor would like to make the investment successful. 101%, 110%, they want to be successful. If they go to the countryside and they don't see, even though they feel and they see these opportunities, but the people are not really prepared for that. And it's not those people who we would hire through you, but those ones who have them establish this new setup, then the decision will be made for Budapest or outside of Hungary. That's our experience actually. What we did in PH and what we would like to continue in other cities in Hungary, and we were physically preparing the municipality, right, and including the university professors. They were also involved, and they are also learning even today, just because they are not at the same level that the Corvinus professor is. So, and they want to learn to attract.
So to that point, I guess that, so we talked about, okay, KATA and not KATA, basically people coming through KATA advertisement and security and so on, which we were talking about earlier. But this whole talent pool is visible for you because you are an agency who understands it is there. But there are, as István mentioned, there are still a couple of, let's say, players in this game. And one of those is municipality. Another one is the employment agencies, right? Where they have everybody registered who is looking for employment. They have zero clue, definitely, of what this industry is about. So how to, I come back to my original question. If I am a center leader, let's say today, and I have my security here in Budapest, let's say, in a way, it's becoming very expensive and it takes double time and a lot of frustration because I train somebody, this person leaves, I train somebody, this person leaves. It's an ongoing issue, zero or very limited stability. I have to think about the backup option. So trust me or not, out of 10 people asked, at least 6 will say, okay, I mean, maybe we should look outside Sofia or something like that, where the market is mature, but at the same time it's not so expensive, but the talent pool is still available. It just doesn't pass their mind to say, okay, let me go to Pécs or let me go to Szeged. It just doesn't, for whatever reason. So even if he's thinking about other option because he has to, because it's everything now.
Yeah, but in this case, at the end, he doesn't care if the new activity is in Hungary or not. Maybe for him or her, Budapest is Hungary, and that's all. And how can you change this mindset? I don't know.
Or the perception. How can we change the perception, right?
Yeah, but for example, from Seattle, it doesn't matter. Sofia and Budapest are not that far away.
That far away.
And
forget about Seattle. I'm talking about the Central European center
okay.
here. Okay,
I wanted to say something for that. So I think we should also do something with our environment as well. What I mean by that, for example, Hungary is a country where the Ministry of Agriculture is in Budapest. I haven't seen a single cornfield in Budapest. Yeah. So why is it in Budapest? Why the hell is it in Budapest? What's the reason for it? So this is also a market condition in Hungary. It's so much Budapest centralized that you can't avoid. We make every year a measure about the willingness to move. It's a survey what we do for a quite large panel, and it's much easier to attract people from Debrecen to Budapest than vice versa. So I can use Győr as an employment market for my Budapest center, but it doesn't work vice versa. And why is that? Because it goes back to my first point. These centers are faking. They are targeting for young professionals willing to move, no families, so they are targeting not the right pool at the moment. And it's easier for them with this, how I call by purpose fake environment, it's easier to attract people. They can't attract, if they would target the right talent pool, the middle age, the families,
or mixed,
or
probably
whatever,
mixed, yeah.
Then a center would have many benefits in the countryside. I put our internal Hungarian centers in the countryside, and not we pay exactly the same salary like in Budapest. We don't make a difference.
And that's a very important point what you're saying, that you pay the same salary as in Budapest, because that's also an ongoing question mark.
The bread is the same price, so it's so the purchasing power should be the same, and we don't make these distinctions, but the bonuses are different in the front because they make different results. But back to this, if you don't fake it, if you targeting this, you can really make a much closer relationship with your talent pool in the countryside, like in the very noisy Budapest. And you can be really, you can read the loyalty, what you can never do in a large city. Unless we are targeting what I call fake pool, then it will not come to this type of decisions, because the real advantages, what a center could benefit from such a location, will not pay off. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing what I was thinking about. I am searching now. So I don't have the golden answer. I'm just thinking, but once this thing will start to change, when the centers will come to the real talent pool, the more and more benefits will come from the countryside cities.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting, because I mean, we have players on the market who have service centers outside Budapest. So there are a couple of them, actually even 2-3 locations. But the talent pool which they approached was exactly the same as the talent pool in Budapest. So when you talk to any of them, oh, there is no enough talent pool, we had difficulties to hire, we had to steal from each other. Probably Debrecen is the best example, and so on. So yeah, so the mistake, let's call it mistake, or the learning lesson is never a learning lesson, because it's like an ongoing train. It's the same and the same and the same. So simply the mindset of doing something different is just not there. Mm-hmm. So last question to you both, actually, mm-hmm. because I will leave the floor for questions. So what do you advise? Look at your advisory.
Change the mindset. So it's very simple that if you are continue to go on this road, what you have done before, then in the same time you will reach the same location, end of the road. If you don't change the road, if you continuously going in the same road what you are doing since years, then the result will be the same. It's so simple. Somebody sitting at home watching television and just imagine, okay, I need a beach body and I should go to train and so on and so on. But if he's sitting at home and watching television, then wouldn't have got never beach body. So
I can confirm that.
they have to go to the gym or to go swim, or they have to switch. So that's the point. If I understand the mindset is a strong attitude or a behavior, or I don't know what exactly, but if somebody is not changing, then they will have the same results. I'm 100% sure.
It's a very visual example. I can. Balázs,
What to say after that?
less visual example.
Just then I will be very specific for the KATA. If you have key talent that you employ at the moment under the terms of KATA and it's not feasible anymore, pay them. Keep them. Accept that, okay, it was good till now. You benefited from it already enough, and don't let them go. Just keep them, pay them what they want. It's not that much. I mean, you don't employ that much other people. Just find a way how to keep them and how to convince them instead of telling them bullshit about it's everywhere. You have to no. There's a high inflation on the market. They need it. You should increase even if it's not cut up because of the inflation. So that's the advice. Don't let any talent go just because of taxation.
Nothing to say. I mean, I fully agree, but in reality, this is what we all know. But sometimes it's defined by the bigger corporates in many cases, which is really difficult to manage and obey. How you explained, however, yes, that's the solution. This is how we can, on one hand, retain and also attract not only the KATA people but also on the market, just to reduce that 25% attrition what we have already during the year, and just at least keep it, not to let it go higher. But there are certain other aspects from the corporates which define and the effect is completely opposite.
So as a last sentence from my side, the way I look at it, it is a market which is, let's say, if I don't only think about service centers, is at least 85 to 90,000 people, not including everybody else, but just purely service centers. So it's not a small market, right? Including the Hungarians. So I still see an opportunity for advisory in this field. So it's just maybe a comment to you. I know people should recognize things themselves, but I think there is an opportunity for a good advisory about this, of what to do outside of Budapest. I really truly believe that it is a missing field. So I think companies who have a knowledge about that outside of Budapest really and work outside of Budapest could provide a great value to company leaders. So it's just a message from my side. I leave it to the colleagues if they have any questions.
I have one. So it's Danny from the city. What you talk about with KATA, is that the answer to the place where we have the issues for hiring? I know it is a bit unique from this perspective, but most of the centers want to move up the value chain, and being able to hire 100 language speakers who got out from KATA wouldn't really solve if we are looking for 10 quants or Python developers.
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
So you're looking for 10 quants, and you have 1,500 others. Hire KATA employees for 1,500 other positions, and not for the quants. For the quants, you will have to stand in the queue for the university, just like anybody else. That's my view. But what do you think?
Sir, it will be black and white again, and you know my position. By purpose, moving up the value chain with Python developers would have been a case 10 years ago. It's not that anymore. In city, being these type of things are not, the value chain moved up much higher. Yeah, so it's you're not moving up the value chain, you just to keep up the pace. So it's not, please, not fake. It's a basic thing now in a bank or a shared service center of a bank to have those type of developers. Yeah, and this is not moving up. So what you are, it's not something, but there are already more than 35 years old developers with those languages. I mean, IT languages on the market, and your whole brand is still targeting for the 22. It's not good. That's what I'm saying. Your whole brand and attributes are prepared for the 20s, and you are talking about old languages. Meanwhile, in Tampa, they are investing in MIT with completely new languages and with completely new technologies. And that's the value chain. You have to serve at the moment the long tail. Even in IT, of course, it's moving up the value chain for you, but in terms of the whole city environment, it's not. And that's why you have to adjust your branding and the attributes of the branding, the fathers, those who are having the different conditions, and they are not really fun when you just provide them home office. They don't want to sit with 3 kids and 2 cats in their kitchen. Yeah, it's not a benefit for them anymore. Flexible work environment and those things. So this is my perspective. I don't know your case personally. I'm talking about general things like that. So please look at the mirror, think about it, and there are far enough Python developers in Europe. 10 is not that much. There is almost a 200,000 people city. You find it there. But until you change your mind, you will not find it here. You will compete against, you are in the same circle like you've been 10 years ago with, I don't know, SAP report specialists. You are circling around with the same thing without using the learning curve.
You're absolutely right, but I think I didn't phrase my question right. So what I mean is, generally in the sector, is this answering the part where most companies struggle with hiring? Would the KATA people be the answer?
No, because as I said, the KATA is just an opportunity for those people, certain number of people within the KATA who decide for any kind of reason to leave this original setup, and having the good match. So at least the language need is compulsory in order to step into the business services sector. And this is a smaller overlap. This is not the way how we would like to solve this issue. This is a really small piece of that. The other thing is something that we have already. So this is just an extra, which in addition we would like to use to create and start better sector awareness through KATA, because then the bigger awareness we can spread through the country and even outside at some point, hopefully. And people know, and not only those people, I really like one example of a typical person who is sitting in front of the TV. And
I was talking about myself, so.
No. Your typical example, you can explain, and the person do not really never heard about the business services sector at all, or any other things. But these people have children who they may give advice. Okay, this is as I said, this is a person that forget it. So if they can know more about how the changes were done and what are the things after the 20 years and the knowledge intense way, what we try to push, and city is also a good example in the IT field specifically. These are the things that people do not know about, and the more we can share this to the average people, that's the good good word for that, but you have a better word. The more things they can spread over and over, because we reach through LinkedIn and Facebook and whatever, through our circles and channels, mainly and only those people who we already know, or they know us. People who are working or intentionally planning to work in the business services environment, not no one else. That's it. And this is a barrier for us, and KATA might be an extra how we can step out from this kind of bubble and reach out to people who they may know us, but most of them they don't.
Back to your question, if you need 10 of those, yes, you can find within the KATA field. But why do you want to narrow it down there? You don't want KATA people. If anybody is good who fits this, just use KATA as a platform to deliver your message, because it's in the news. You can use it for free because you don't have to pay for it. It's in the news anyway. Use ABSL to transfer this message. It costs nothing as an ABSL president for István to mention it. For example, in the banking sector, Python developers could think because of whatever. And then if somebody is not a former KATA type of people, but apply for the job, you will not refuse them, right? So just that's the message. Use this as a platform and find your 10 people.
Yeah, and use this until it exists, because in 3 weeks or in 1 month, the KATA topic is
Over.
So
it's now or never.
yeah, that's right.
Oh no, maybe not now or never,
So
but
nobody
I
will
doubt
care
that there will
about
be any
that.
other governmental change which will not impact
Yeah.
somebody painfully, but yeah, so it's now or
Entrepreneurs
never.
will solve their lives.
Yes.
And use the exchange rate increases for that. Citibank is a big bank, exchange rate. You go there and say, okay, exchange rates are higher, so it's the mortgages is higher. By the way, we are a stable sector. If you are a Python developer, you can make your living here, whatever. You are in the news anyway, so they will give you these 2 extra sentences in exchange to say something about the real topic. And everybody does it, but this sector doesn't. I don't know why, and that's why we as a sector we have to learn,
Because it's not hurting so much.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Actually, I have a question to you. So it would be the other way around, because our office here in Budapest, how on you, like a recruitment company, to attract the people who are living in Szeged, Debrecen, and convince them to move to Budapest, despite the fact that we can have hybrid work environment, blah, 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 but still, they will need to come here to work in Budapest. I know you would like to move big companies to other cities, but for me, or personally, I'm not talking on behalf of my company, how to attract people from there. Because personally, I went to Debrecen University for a job fair representing my company.
What is your company? Sorry.
Examo.
Excellent.
And it was my first time to go at a job fair. And when I was talking, and it was fair enough to hear it, that yeah, but I would like to stay in Debrecen, which is for a personal reason, family reason, blah, blah, blah. But how to convince them to come here?
What was your high value that you were presenting
A lot.
to them? What? Just tell me too.
Like I was telling video, for example, I'm not here to talk about my company. I came here.
Yeah, but what was the high value?
The
Accommodation.
culture, the inclusion and diversity, for example. So when I started to talk about, because talking to youngsters, sorry?
Booming industry.
Booming industry.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of things.
But it's not a high value for them. High value is not what you think is a high value. The high value, what they think. So you have to understand them.
But for youngsters, they wouldn't care about long term.
But that's what I'm saying. You're targeting the
Yeah,
wrong.
exactly. That's what I was talking to them about. The inclusion and diversity. Someone who's coming from a foreigner country and easily find his way in Hungary and in my country. So that's the thing. But also, just one time. But you have a lot of connections, candidates, talent pool that you are saying you're having here and there. How to tell them also about our companies.
Have you ever tried to attract youngsters who is under the education of Stipendium Hungaricum? It's foreign country students who are living here and studying here in Hungary. It's 40,000.
A lot, I think.
Plus from 180 countries around the world.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is the main question is basically you went to Debrecen on a job fair for students in Debrecen where you want to attract them to Budapest to work, which is great. But I think that, you know, they first, obviously, in this changing environment, they will naturally look for opportunity to stay locally if they can, and limit their possibility to come to Budapest and in a hybrid mode if they can. It doesn't mean that they are not willing to, because the variety of people is really. I have an experience very similar from Page because I'm teaching there, so I'm exactly doing this, trying to helping companies to attract students in Page to work for them remotely or in a hybrid mode. But you know, natural question is that for the foreign students, they don't mind whatever. For the Hungarian students, part of the students will say, okay, I would love to stay in my hometown now since the world has changed. Yeah, so we are digital. So unless you specifically require really for me to come twice a week to the office, which by the way, majority of the companies are empty. There are many times I go, the offices are empty. So that's a different topic and not for this discussion, whether it makes sense or not, what you're asking, but that's another topic. I don't want to, but so part of them would like to stay, but there is another part which is willing to do what you ask them to do. So you have to, again, the value add, which you just said, is a value add to the foreign student. It's not a value add to a Hungarian student to have necessarily the diversity and inclusion. Yes, it is interesting that he can work in a group of people with 33 different languages if he wants to, but the Hungarian naturally will not think about this for the first. They will think about this on the list for the fifth. For you, as a foreigner, it is a value. So I think that who is your customer and who is your target is a very, very, and what you want to advertise and how you want to attract the talent. And we were talking here, sorry, but we were talking here about the talent which is outside of the university. How will you find those? How will you include the diversity and inclusion for the talent from the foreign country, living there, being a whoever and whatever, and living in these small towns, being married there or whatsoever? How you will attract those? You don't even know they exist.
Okay, we want to convince somebody under 5 minutes with a nice skills on the job fair to change their entire life. It's not that feasible. Example of there, you have to be there for 2 years to have a successful job fair. Yeah, so the job fair is just a door where you let in those who are already interested in you. And that's important. Be there always. Be there as a potential good employer, with high values, far before the job fair. The job fair is an opportunity for them to meet you in person, but they don't want to meet you until you don't know you. You have to be in interviews. You are the guy who came from I don't know where and seen half of the world and can compare lifetime opportunities between whatever US, UK, India, France, and can tell smart things that's interesting about the world, not only about ExxonMobil, but and then they have the opportunity to meet you. You have to boost it up, and if it's not boosted up, you are just one foreigner standing there. That's it. And they came with a baseball hat from British Petrol and a nice bag from the Hungarian oil company, and you gave them a nice stress ball with ExxonMobil. That's what they know about it. That's the real life.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And you have to build it up. And the other thing is that where you go is really important. You picked up the most patriotic city in the whole country.
Where 9 other companies present locally, by the way.
We know it. if you build up a country-wide recruitment,
Some hundreds of years ago, capital of Hungary was in Debrecen.
yeah, these are proud to be patriotic. Yeah, it's that's where you went, and when we are building up a countrywide recruitment plan to attract people to other cities. I'm 100% sure in our plan, when we use our own resources, we don't put much stake to Debrecen. Yeah, because they
And also they know that BMW is coming, so they will wait for that employer, and Cattle is coming in the big
it's partner.
yeah.
So search in other cities. That's one of the
Debrecen is another example because they visit also other cities. I'm just giving.
Yeah, but the how it's built up, I think it should be a little bit different. One presence in a job fair will not change anything. It's a piece of a long process.
Longer period.
And I'm sorry, I have two things. One, that as they said, Debrecen is a city you need to invest in and be there. And then after a few years, they will think of you as an employer that they want to join. The second, which is most important, that they are answering your question in a different way. If all these companies go and establish a location in Debrecen, then in no way you can convince those people to move to Budapest. Because they will have opportunities locally that they will take.
which they do, by the way. So for in Debrecen, as an example, there are today 9 companies, large companies, having service centers there. So for youngsters, they have, they have an education there locally, just for service centers. They go, they advertise, and they take the talent. But still, they do the same mistake. They only look for youngsters. So they suffer, equally suffer, because the pool which they try to get, they try to hunt and agree among themselves, but no one looks outside.
And there is a shortage of universities and new talents, of course, because you can count how much or how many youngsters are coming year by year from the schools.
It's a fact. We know it already for 20 years now.
Yeah, won't be more. And the youngster who is beginning his career, I think that in the first 2 or 3 years, it's okay for them to work, and then the attrition, it's becoming higher and higher. I can imagine that if this work is too, let's say, it's a white collar position, of course, I know, but some jobs in SSC and BSc is rather monotone.
Don't assume, because we will enter into long discussion.
Some of them. And the youngster needs challenge and success.
Well, I love your idea of targeting other kind of pool than the youngsters who are just having to understand the profiles of what you're thinking of. Who are those 40 plus years old, good level of English speakers who might be a good target for the BSc sectors and not working in that sector yet?
Maternity leavers. That's number one.
Yeah, maternity leave. The key competence, a bottleneck is English.
Yeah, it's another. It's
the citizenship is a key, is a bottleneck, or the English knowledge is a bottleneck.
The language skills.
Language skills. Yeah. So you would hire also Filipinos.
I wouldn't hire anyone. I'm out of this.
Okay, but just
in principle,
because they are speaking much more better English than I do.
About it, because there is no risk on my side. I'm just about to understand the profiles. Maternity,
and you can't make it without investment. The maternity leavers will get how to say holiday or paid anyway. It can be month. And you have to invest. If language is a barrier, we have a very this bottleneck is everywhere, because we speak a language that's useless. Just in the neighboring countries if they want to speak at all. But you have to invest. You have to accept that the car manufacturers accepted that they have to invest in lean knowledge and in whatever. It's also expensive. Don't be afraid to pay for the language courses. You have to pay, and you can have. You don't need fluent. You don't need a native. But and within 2 or 3 months, they can reach the minimum requirement. Of course, it costs you a lot, but not that much. Against what you miss if you don't have the appropriate people. Don't be afraid to invest into these people. Don't be afraid to invest into those who are coming from the government side or the Hungarian tax office because they hate to be tax auditors anymore. You can target those. Of course, you have to pay the salary and the language course for the beginning.
But you can create contracts with people to stay and be loyal to you because you pay for the education, you create education contracts, you automatically gain time. So there are plenty of possibilities there. But you know, since I've seen personally Polish bookkeeping done in India by Indians pretty well with translators, everything is possible.
Or you can come to us, pay the same amount of money, and you will get the youngsters that will leave in 3 years. So continuously we will have a job. That's option B.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
I have one more question. At the beginning, you mentioned, Balázs, that you didn't see so far any large SSC projects failing because of labor issues. Do you think it is coming in the near future that we will see some of those projects failing because of this?
If this gonna happen, I mean, if this unstable environment can happen, then yes. And it's not a Hungarian specific thing. You can look what happened in Ireland. They failed for a different reason. There was no construction. There were no home, and Cork is a small city, and nobody could move in. And they haven't seen it. And then everybody told it, but they just didn't care. And then it failed. KPMG failed. They had to move somewhere else. Microsoft had failed. They had to move somewhere else. Large companies with lots of money, and there was not even a language barrier between Ireland and the US. And they failed because the talent pool couldn't leave anywhere, and they just didn't realize it. So yes, that it definitely can fail.
Back to your question before that, from Debrecen, the students not willing to move to Budapest.
No, I'm not saying they were.
Okay,
I was just wondering how, from your side, can support such idea of moving people from that.
It works. I would say only it's very hard for somebody who lives in Debrecen day by day to come here and find a flat and rent a flat and pay the fees.
Well,
And we can say that this is our job. If you want to spend the money for services like this, we can do it for you.
Yeah.
But the reason why we are representing this under this flag is how to give you an advice, not paying for that, but building your own competence a little bit. So we are talking a little bit against ourselves at the moment. Otherwise, if we are in a different point, it's solvable. That's why we built our service for. If you can solve it 100%, we don't have, but we are not afraid because there is much more challenge in the market.
That's it? No more question?
I have one question.
Okay, I am, yeah.
Victor, you started that KATA is about money, is about the differences of monthly income. So according to our experience, from the KATA pool, we are expecting much more money. For example, a multilingual teacher with 3 years of teaching experience wants to have the same salary as an experienced SSC employee.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with that? How do you explain that if you are hiring this person with that amount of money, how you explain that to your current employees?
I would say that it's not the problem. It's not about kata or not kata. It's rather about the salaries of the existing employees and the newcomers. That's the same issue. It doesn't. I think that it's not affected by somebody is a teacher or not, or kata or entrepreneur or not. We have the same problem in our organization in Hungary, in my company, that and this is because the unemployment rate is very low. The people, the candidates don't know it. And if you have an open vacancy, there is some candidates, and the second or third or fourth question is the salary, of course, or the first question. And you will see that now in this unemployment rate in Hungary, in this environment, a newcomer would like to earn more and more than your existing headcount. And that's it was 5 years ago the same. It will be 5 years ago.
It was always the same. It was
the
not a disproportion.
Always the same. It's not about kata or not kata.
Yeah, but I experienced much more difference between, so
you know, they
200,004.
Now they feel free to ask for bigger amount of money, because they are hearing in the news, okay, unemployment rate in Hungary, it's extreme low, new investments are coming in, the companies are increasing the salaries, and why not? It's a chance for an employee to earn more money. Actually. And that's why they are asking you, or maybe they just asking you for an offer with your higher salary, and they go back to their existing employer and show them, okay, look, they gave me an offer, please give me this amount of money or I leave.
But I think, that's also again a Budapest bubble as well, because I wouldn't say that something like this doesn't exist in, let's say, Debrecen, but probably not to this proportion. So Budapest is completely out of range. Here, anybody can ask anything. And that on a long run will bring a lot of frustration within your organization, because there's no way you will change your banding that fast within your corporate environment, your HR banding and layers to accommodate the salaries, because naturally within your organization, you just promote people and you put them into the, lower edge of the band or middle edge of the band, but you never will put them on the top, where your incoming potential employee will want already the salary, which is on the top of your band. So that will naturally bring all the frustrations. So is one more reason to think about any other alternatives, right?
I think also what Balázs mentioned, to be honest with the candidate, you can tell her, okay, look, with this amount of money, we will pay the best. I don't want to have this kind of clash between my organization. I can give you only this amount. Do you accept it or not? Please decide. And that's all.
There is always a question of budget, right? So you have one, as anyone else. So there's just a limitation of what you can or cannot do. So there will be some sort of irrational amounts which you will just say, okay, I cannot. I just simply cannot. Even if I want to, I will not be able to pay because that's not in my budget. So that kind of hiring strategy was always there for any organization, that whatever offer you put on the table, it will match or it will not match. So there is a risk always that the employee may accept it, but may not stay with you on a long run, or you just search for a different profile, different talent, and you start to rethink of what you are really looking for the job. Do you really need all these list of attributes there, or you just need a little bit more simplified profile within your salary range, or even lower than you originally thought, to cover the job which you are looking for? So that's definitely not the IT developer we are talking about, but many other positions probably that, we just took 1 hour, 1.5 hours about how to rethink this, the whole profiling concept in terms of, what is the right resource for me? Because if someone will come with a secondary school degree, let's keep it very simple, with a language, he will join you with no matter salary, okay? I mean, there will be a salary for sure, minimum requirements, so he will not compete with your existing employee. Definitely not.
How many people are we talking about in your case, what you just brought up?
We were interviewing in the past, 2 weeks, more than that, multilingual teachers. who were living in a totally different frames, taxing frames.
But they don't ask for more. They SMS in the beginning of the month, right? This doesn't change. These guys will get completely the same SMS with the same amount in the beginning of the month. I'm just saying that I'm trying to play the advocate. What if you just pay them? Because at the end of the day, what they compare, they net. I've never heard an employee compare their super gross salary and their number of holidays between each other. I'm just saying, I don't know. But
So
that's what I asked from my own people, English teacher.
but you are referring to basically teachers being a kata form,
Yeah,
let's say
that's one of the
entrepreneurs.
English teacher as well, and we just.
So what stays in my pocket, in order to get the same what stays in my pocket, I need this salary. So because they go to HR calculator and they will say, okay, so this, and please give me this, and that's all what they ask. And but for you, obviously, you have the difference in the gross salary, right?
Yeah.
But he or she is just looking exactly for the same net amount what they were
But we
earning.
need to educate them and tell them what is in the market.
Under 10% of inflation, you will not educate for such a thing. That's what I think. And it's really an exception. It's an exception handling. When it's about the total pool, it's a much, I don't think that this as a, if you are happy with that person, there, and you made this favor, you can use it for your own benefit. Later on, with a very small investment. We are talking about tens of thousands of forints compared to I don't know how many, but Russia it's not a pool company. So it's when it's up to a bakery with such a cost, of course it's a conflict. But in terms of a large multinational, we have to accept that this was good till now. And now we have to a little bit compromise. And I haven't seen in this sector, it's one of my major thing, to make this compromise with the employees.
It's not a problem for us.
Of course, and I
But
don't
it could
think,
be a problem for our clients.
Because your Randstad source, right?
No.
It's normal
Not
Randstad.
of Hungary.
Yeah,
So it's a good thing for us to present candidates with higher salaries because we are working for success fees, so that's fine. But sometimes they are rejecting our candidates because they are asking too much.
yeah, but if, let's say your GP is like 10%, okay? Like in third place. Maybe a trust is a bit higher, but that's if you increase the salary, it will not go down even to 90 on a yearly average, just because you pay a little bit more for the English teachers. Otherwise, it's a business critical thing. So I don't see it. Sorry, but I don't think it's a made up problem without the culture of making your compromise and letting the benefit go away. That's how I see this specific issue.
Thank you very much. 11 o'clock, we are sharp. I think it's 11 o'clock, yes. It's just we are sharp as we should be. So thank you very much. I really enjoyed this. Köszönjük. I'll stop recording.